Hello everybody, just wanted to show you what I just finished and offer a big special thanks to Simon Leach for motivating me, and I did a lot of thinking about it and decided to go with the Leach style kick wheel, and I'm glad I did. I have a motor that I was going to actually motorize the wheel in the beginning, but I think that I won't. I might just make a second wheel if I want to use one, with the motor for different things. But here it is. There it is. Took me a couple of weeks, just working weekends and then getting up in the morning early for work, a couple of hours every day for mostly like midweek or so. I'd maybe go in a couple hours early. But I want to show you what I got going on here. Made the whole thing out of steel pipe actually, and then I have like I think it's maybe 2-inch steel beams on the sides, the main structure, and 1-inch cold rolled steel for my shaft. And I'll show underneath. Got the bearings welded to the bar, top bearing, and yeah, you can see the bottom bearing there. And it was a little tricky, and my welds aren't the greatest because these were actually galvanized, and I didn't have my sandblaster set up or anything. I just went ahead and welded it, but they actually came up pretty good, nice and strong. I got reinforcements for the seat, and it's actually on it's actually a section of pipe here, so I can adjust this if I need to, but I think I got it pretty good for me. And the mechanism here, I'll give it a spin, and you can see I used actually a leather belt, a couple straps of leather belt, and I have welded a hinge onto the steel plate that's attached onto the wood. The wood piece actually rides on the shaft, and it's pretty simple actually. I cut these pieces out of 1/4-inch plate steel and drilled the holes, put the bars through, welded all 4 joints, and then cut out the center bar. And my base is actually about 3 inches thick altogether. Plywood bottom. What I did was I coated it with resin to make it waterproof first. Put a thin piece of wood on the outside, like 1/8 inch or so wood bent all the way around. You can still see some of the tape that I had on there, so that the fiberglass wouldn't stick to the wood piece that I had on there. Because what I did was I brushed resin and fiberglass. This is actually resin and fiberglass on the outside. And the reason I did that is I actually had plans of using Duraglass on this whole outside and making it perfectly level, like using something to brace and sand against, and then my motor over here. But I don't think I will now. The top trays, I got the pad on here. Simon has one on his. I thought it was a good idea. Except Simon, if you'll notice, there's no duct tape on mine yet. Eventually, I'm sure there will be. And I've attached a couple of boxes on each side. They're plywood, and then of course they're coated with resin. I still want to actually putty in all the seams so they're round all the way around, and put one more coat of resin on it. Here you can see the rest of my mechanism welded on here, a piece of pipe, piece of 1/4-inch steel, and I used wood for the main bar going across. And there you can see actually like a foot pedal where I put on, so it's on a little bit of an angle up to the top, bolted on up under there. And my head is actually wood. I made it out of wood. I originally started making it out of casting it out of aluminum, but I found that my furnace wasn't big enough. I couldn't melt enough aluminum at one time, so I went with wood. I'm going to coat it with resin, and it is nice because it comes off and on. I can change it if I want to. I'll see how it goes with this. After I coat it with resin, I think it'll be fine. And plus it gives me the option of changing the head to different sizes, or putting in bat pins if I decide to go with use bats that have the you know, the pins, the 10-inch part pins. But until then, I'll be using the clay on the top to hold the bats in place. That's it. There she goes. I first decided to make this about 3 years ago. It took me till now to actually get up the energy and get everything I needed and bring all of my plan together, as well as, you know, making the rest of my studio down here. And there you go. Thanks again, Simon.